Your voice, your opinion, your community. Fact TV, free speech protected.
Secrets in the shadows, lost and found. Truth in every echo, loud and clear. Keep on with the long road, no more fear. In the halls of power, whispers grow. Every secret cracked beneath the undertone. Honest stories hidden in the glass. On this long road, in the truth we trust.
Welcome to The Long Road. I'm your host, Chris Roberts. Since it's almost 50 degrees out today, I figured what the heck, I'd wear a short sleeve shirt. But in a day or two, as soon as tomorrow, we could be having snow. You know, when I was driving up here, driving out of work, coming up here to do the show, they were talking about Donald Trump talking maybe about getting rid of 60% of the people in the EPA, getting rid of maybe 50% of the people in the IRS, getting rid of most of the people in the Department of Education and send it back to the states. And now people are kind of like in a panic and everything. And he says, I've been given a mandate, and my mandate is to balance the budget. Even thought I increased the deficit by almost $7 trillion when I had the same mandate 8 years ago. And we want to give everything back to the people. Okay, and I was just thinking, let's give back to the people. Texas. Today, state of Texas just announced that 2 children have died of measles. It's been years, but the children have died of measles because where the children have live, there was something like, if I remember correctly, like 14% of the children do not have measles, mumps, rubella, German measles vaccines because they're not required to have, because, you know, just outdated stuff. And I was just looking at it. So today, I'm going to talk about an individual that total opposite of our current president, total opposite the people that are in elected position. And I don't care if you're Democrat, I don't care if you're Republican, Libertarian, Green, or whatever party you want. Okay? I'm going to talk about a total lack of leadership. We're going to talk about individuals that are pretty their only number one priority is themselves. How can I get more power, more wealth for myself? Okay, it's nothing new. All the way, go to Roman history, go to Greek history, go to Persian history, go to Egyptian history. There are always backstabbing individuals who only worry about themselves. They do not worry about the general populace. As far as the general populace is how much wealth can I extract out of the general populace? Okay, I don't care if it was United Kingdom, France, Spain, Italy, Germany, all these empires. bingo, they have found ways to, a small group of people have found ways to go, what is the best for me? You know what? We got people where they kill family members. Oh, I'm going to kill my brother so I can have the throne. I'm going to go back and forth. I'm going to kill my wife because my wife won't give me a son, an heir. Okay? But we have plays about them. We have movies about them. You know, and it doesn't even matter. Oh, you can say, let's talk about religion. It happens over and over again in almost every single religion. Christianity had some pretty evil people that were doing backstabbing. And what happens is, we as a people always break down, and we try to hold our finger up to, who's going to win? I want to be on the winning side. And why do we do that? Because we think if we're on the winning side, we stand to benefit. But we don't study history very often. Why? Because history is only written by the winners. And so you figure, well, this individual is running for senator. So I'll support this individual because this individual, if he or she wins, I will benefit. Not what's good for the district or good for any good, but it's what's good for me. And so right now, United States is no different than a lot of other countries, and it's no different than some other periods in our time. We have individuals who are self-seeking. We have corporations who are self-seeking. Okay? For example, John D. Rockefeller. John D. Rockefeller hired a guy, and John D. Rockefeller spent over $1 million in what to support public education. And what was the goal of John D. Rockefeller spending all that money to support public education? Oh, I want trained workers. I don't want doctors, lawyers, or painters, artists, anything like that. I want trained workers who will not think. That's right, will not think. They will come in, they will do what they were told, and they go home. Bingo. We don't want anything extra. Why do you think most of the towns, especially in New England, schools only went up to 8th grade? Why do you think most people who are in New England, grown-ups, couldn't read past 4th grade? Because it was not in the best interest of businesses and government and stuff. And if you do not pay attention to that, they understand critical thinkers are a danger to the current government. Critical thinker is a danger to the current climate, cultural climate. So they'll find a way. And you know what? If I can get you to support me, and as soon as I get what I want, and I have no need for you, I get rid of you. And people say over and over and over, that's not going to happen to me. That's not going to happen to me. Yes, it will. And especially nowadays, the truth will always come out. The best thing a lot of these individuals can hope for is that the truth doesn't come out while they're still alive. But, okay, the governor of New Hampshire, the current governor, what is the current governor going to do for the majority of the people that live in New Hampshire? Well, the only ones that really matter are the ones that vote for him or her. No different when it was a Democratic governor. Donald Trump, he looked at what it was the first time. He realized why he didn't win the second time around. So he changed his manipulation wheel and was able to convince another whole group to vote for him. Democrats made some really stupid mistakes. They manipulated one way around and say, hey, you know what? Yeah. Who do we think can beat Donald Trump in 2020? Not what's best for the country, but what's best for the party and our donors. And so part of it is 6 reasons why politicians believe they can lie. You know what the number one reason is? It's so clear because they don't think they're going to get caught. And if they get caught, they understand it doesn't matter. If I run for election and you elect me and you find out that I lied and you re-elect me, guess what? You've reinforced it. When I run for election, I gotta lie. And then you re-elect me again, I'll lie even more. So you're reinforcing my lie. Okay? But a lot of the research and more research is going on is that many politicians are narcissists. They think the world revolves around them. Wait a minute. No, why would we elect narcissists? You know, it doesn't make sense. Well, the reason we elect narcissists, because sometimes narcissists can be really smooth talking people. People that can be mesmerizing and you just want to listen more and more. Narcissists are arrogant, self-important, see themselves as special, require excess admiration, and have a sense of entitlement. If it looks like a duck and sounds like a duck, it's probably a duck. This constellation of narcissist attributes causes them to believe they are right, and even if they're not, they are too smart to be caught or suffer the consequences. In other words, they believe their own BS. John Edwards, you got to be old to listen to John Edwards. John Edwards was the guy who was running for president. He had a good chance of becoming president. His wife had cancer and he was having an affair, and he got the woman pregnant while his wife was having treatment for cancer. And what did he say? My experiences fed a self-focus and egotism, a narcissism that leads you to believe you can do whatever you want. That's an individual that almost became president of the United States if his ego and the ability to think that there's no way I'm going to get caught. And even if I'm going to get caught, something is going to happen. Nothing's going to happen to me. Another reason, politicians and some business owners, CEOs, politicians know that their followers will believe them even in the face of irrefutable evidence to the contrary. Politics and their adherents live in an echo chamber in which everyone watches the same news channel, listens to the same talk radio, reads the same newspaper and websites, and hangs out with the same like-minded people. There exists an internal membrane that prevents from conflicting information from entering. So just think, I don't care if I'm a Harris or I'm a Trump or I'm an Elon Musk or I'm a Biden. Plain and simple, I have this dome around me, an impenetrable dome. And in this dome, I have all my true believers. And then every day, like in the book 1984, my true believers are going to watch the same TV shows, listen to the same news, read the same books, go on the internet to the same channel, and then we're going to Facebook us, we're going to X us, Instagram us. We will only get people that agree with us as friends. And so every time someone else provides us information or I read something, they're going to support Biden's vision, Harris's vision, Trump's vision, Elon Musk's vision. No, we're not a lot. We have gotten to the point that is almost impossible to have true believers that will take any time whatsoever to say, oh, there's a possibility. No, not like President Lincoln goes, when I was a lawyer and someone was going to get made an argument, I would spend 80% of my time trying to prove that individual right. Not to prove him wrong, but to prove him right. Because I'll learn a heck of a lot trying to prove him right. Because when I try to prove him wrong, if I spend the vast majority of my time proving him wrong, I will overlook a heck of a lot of stuff. Number 3, why politicians will lie and continue to lie. Oh, people don't want to hear the truth. You go, yeah, I want to hear the truth. No, how many of us really want to hear the truth? If we hear the truth, then we have to be responsible how we react to the truth. Oh, okay, for example, I'm reading today, prepping for the show, and I go and I'm saying is, President Trump doesn't like bike lanes. Other places around the country are doing away with bike lanes. They think it's a waste of money. They don't think Department of Transportation should support or spend any federal money on bike lanes. Well, but the city of Keene may go and say, hey, you know what? we're going to apply for this grant. Maybe we'll get $3, $4, $5 million grant because they're looking for things like bike lanes and things like that. That was Joe Biden. Joe Biden liked bike lanes. But if Donald Trump goes out and says, I don't like bike lanes, I think they're a waste of money, and all my people that work for me pledge their loyalty to me, do you think the Secretary of Transportation is going to go up to Joe Biden and say, President Trump, Mr. President, I don't agree with that. I think bike lanes are really important. Why do you think it's really important, Secretary of Transportation? Because they help keep down the carbon emissions and they help slow down global warming. Mr. Secretary, don't you remember I told you I don't believe in global warming? By the way, find yourself another job. Okay? So, for example, the city of Keene, this group of people may be so fixated on wanting the bike lanes in the downtown project, they will no longer adjust their thinking from Joe B., the former Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg, to the new Secretary of Transportation, who has a family man with 9 kids and says, we're going to put the money where has the highest marriage rate and has the highest birth rate. Two way distinctive polar opposites. So are we going to believe that? Or are we going to believe what we want to believe? The internet never forgets. Research has shown, for example, that people are more likely to believe unsubstantiated rumors about a political candidate they oppose when read in emails and on blogs. So candidates, politicians understand it's like, hey, when it comes to the internet, people believe what's on the internet's the truth. So, my opponent is, so I'll hire some people, I'll have them write nasty letters to the editor or things that are not truthful, not 100% untruthful, but, contain a part of untruth. So maybe 80% truthful, maybe 20% to get people thinking. And people go, hey, you know what I read on the internet? Oh yeah, that must be true. Hey, you know what I read on Fox News blog or US Post blog or Political blog or MSNBC blog? You gotta be truthful. Rachel Maddow will never say anything wrong to me. Fox and Friends would never say anything wrong to me. That's why I only watch Fox and Friends, because I can't trust anything else. Because all these people will say things that I don't believe in. That's why I only watch MSNBC. I only watch Rachel Maddow or Joy, I can't remember her name, but she got fired last night. Joy Reid. I only listen to them because they're the only ones that say the truth. I can't trust any of the other outlets because they say things I've never heard in, or I don't believe in, or they're contradicting. That's why politicians lie. The old famous one that goes all the way down to, I think it was Goebbels, Hitler's PR man. It says, just say it over and over and over and over again. If you if you say the lie over and over again, and especially if it comes from an authoritarian figure, people will believe it. So if it continues to be heard, then it must be true. Kind of like the one they gave an example is in 2004, John Kerry's swift boating, saying John Kerry didn't earn any of his Medal of Honor, his Purple Hearts. If you're not drawing blood, you're not getting a Purple Heart. And it doesn't matter. The only way you get a Purple Heart from drawing blood is if the blood is annotated. If I'm out in the field and I get hurt, the corpsman doesn't put it down, I don't get a Purple Heart. Okay? There are rules on it. Okay? Why do I bring this up? Because, 70 years old, 61 decades ago, paraphrasing pretty close to what President Lincoln said at Gettysburg. Okay. When I grew up, I had heroes. Okay. Yes. True heroes. True American heroes that irregardless of your color, your race, your religion, your ethnicity and stuff, they were national heroes. I can't think of one national hero of the 21st century, and we're 25% over already. Okay? Pat Mahomes is not a national hero. Okay? Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, they're not national heroes. They're sports athletes. Okay? Sean Payton may be a great basketball player, but having 9 or 10 kids from 7 or 8 women, some of the other football players or the rapper, oh yeah, I got these things, I want to repopulate the world. Taylor Swift, they're not heroes. How have they made people's lives better? Name me a baseball player this century that's a hero. Okay? Name me national hero, someone that qualifies to be a national hero that made a positive impact on people's lives and past their death. They're still making an impact on people's lives. Okay? Some people are going to take it wrong. I spent 21 years in the Marine Corps. I'm not a hero. I went in and did what I felt was right for my country and my community. My country gave me certain benefits, and I felt I had a moral responsibility to repay those benefits and to pay those benefits forward. Everybody that goes in the military is not a hero. Yes. Do we have Medal of Honor winners? Yes, I've worked with a number of Medal of Honor winners. I stood right next to Wesley Fox, Colonel Wesley Fox, who was in Vietnam, and all the officers of senior to him were killed or wounded. The enemy was coming in, and he went and directed that the F-4s come in at low level and drop ordnance on top of him. Those are heroic actions. Those actions, yes, Wesley Fox was a great individual. He was a heroic individual. And I wish I could emulate what I was amazed by the amount of courage that he possessed. Okay. But some of the worst people in the world have been heroic. Heroic does not make you a hero. Do not confuse heroic and hero. Hero's a noun, heroic is an adjective. Or in certain cases, heroic can be an adverb. Heroic action. Okay. Who do I look? John Kennedy. Okay. John Kennedy, yes, he was heroic with PT 109. But John Kennedy was not always the, would you say, the moral and ethical person he was? Did he make a big impact? Yes, he made an impact. His Profile in Courage book made a big impact. But growing up, for me, it was important that I had heroes. People who expected nothing in return. People who did not expect it to be viewed as heroes. People says, well, what is it in for me? Okay. Can sports people be heroes? Yes. Let me give you 3 sports heroes. 4 heroes. I'll give you 4 sports heroes. Jim Thorpe, Native American, didn't even have shoes on, and went into the Olympics to represent a country that didn't even want to call him a citizen and tried to strip him of his Native American identity. Took him away from his parents and sent him to an Indian school that forbid him to speak his native language, who had to speak English, who had to cut his hair, who had to learn Christianity. Okay? Another one, Lou Gehrig. Lou Gehrig stated, I'm the happiest man on earth. Here it is, an individual that's dying, being stripped of his power, being stripped of his greatness as an athlete, who within a few years would be dead, saying, I'm the luckiest man on earth. And yes, the Lou Gehrig disease, ALS. Lou Gehrig is still an inspiration to people not only in the United States, but around the world. Ted Williams. Some people consider him one of the greatest baseball players of all times. But he didn't, but wait a minute, his numbers are only over here. Oh. You know what? Ted Williams, at the prime of his life, goes and says, I'm taking 3 years off. I'm joining the Marine Corps, and I'm going to be a pilot, a fighter pilot stationed in the South Pacific. He could have got out. He could have been playing on a baseball team here or there for the sports. But no, not in the Army, not in the Navy or the Army. He said, nope, I want to go in the best. I want to go in the Marine Corps. I want to go. He comes back, wins the Triple Crown, doing raw stuff, and he goes, oh, I'm going to take a couple more years off, and I'm going back into the Marine Corps, and I'm going to fly. And guess who my wingman is going to be? Some guy named John Glenn. Did you ever hear Ted Williams ever complain about the 5 or 6 years prime of his life, his professional life, that he lost? He never thought it was a loss. He thought it was the right thing to do. He never thought he was doing anything heroic. He was doing what he thought was right. Other one, Jackie Robinson. Brutal, brutal. They were just brutal to him. His teammates were brutal. Until one of them stood up and says, I'm here with Jackie. I'm going to risk it all, but I want Jackie as my teammate. Okay? So we talk about DEI, for example. Jim Thorpe, Native American. Hey, he didn't win gold medals because he was a DEI. Jackie Robinson, he was court-martialed while he was in the Army during World War II because he stood up for right. He's not Kelsey going out with Taylor Smith. It's not Tom Brady dating 2 supermodels and having 2 supermodels pregnant at the same time. You know, a whole bunch of them. And none of them consider themselves heroes. We as Americans are determined they are heroes. They are part of their culture, part of the American culture. But you know who I think is one of the greatest American heroes? Teddy Roosevelt. People, we don't talk about Teddy Roosevelt. We tried to get rid of Teddy Roosevelt when Black Lives Matters. But it's Teddy Roosevelt. He was President of the United States. Oh, he won the Nobel Peace Prize. He won the Medal of Honor. His son hit the beach at D-Day in World War II. Okay. You know what's like Teddy? Who knows about Teddy? Let's give a little example about Teddy. Yeah, he was a police commissioner. He was the governor of New York and stuff. But one day, Teddy got hit with some really bad news. Teddy, we're sorry to inform you, both your mother and your wife have died today. So what Teddy does, he goes to North Dakota and decides to have a ranch and, raise some beef, do some hunting. President Harrison says, Teddy, I got a job for you. We got a real big problem in the United States. Ever since Andrew Jackson, it's been pay to play for government jobs. It's who you know, you get the job. Government patronage. He says, I want you to come up with a way. How do we solve this problem? So what happened was, he comes back. He was appointed the Civil Service Commission by President Benjamin Harris after returning to the East. Roosevelt took his new position with the utmost enthusiasm. He fought against the system of patronism and nepotism that dominated government appointees at that time, advocating strenuously for the selection of federal employees based on merit. Now, 130 years later, we have a position. We have someone that's sitting in the same office that Teddy did and saying is, we want to go back to the old system of patronism and nepotism, because anybody else, it would be based on DEI, not on merit. If you are loyal to me, I will get you a job. Teddy Roosevelt said no. This is in 1893, this is what Teddy Roosevelt, as commissioner, delivered a speech on his expectations of American citizenry: to be engaged, vigilant, politically active, and all above decent. No man can be a good citizen who is not a good husband and a good father, who is not honest in his dealings with other men and women, faithful to his friends, and fearless in the presence of his foes. Man, what? Can you just picture you're a 12, 13-year-old kid and you're looking, what am I going to do when I grow up? Those are pretty powerful words. Okay? The only thing that you could possibly change right now to make it inclusive, instead of taking husband to his wife, is just use the word spouse to spouse. Teddy Roosevelt is considered the conservation president. All these different people talk about, yeah, I'm going to be the conservation president and all this other kind of stuff. What did Teddy Roosevelt do? As the president of the United States, he created the United States Forest Service because of a couple of serious fires out west. He established 150 national forests, 51 federal bird reserves, 4 national game reserves, and 5 national parks. I bet you didn't know about that. They don't teach you about that in school. And you go, oh, Wow. They took his statue away from the museum in New York City because they have a Negro and they have an Indian, one on each side of Teddy Roosevelt. You know what that meant? He was leading them to freedom. People go, no. Black Life History and the other ones, they didn't read it. Okay. In 1906, the American Antiquities Act empowered Roosevelt's administration, even went further in the fight for conservation. During his presidency, Teddy Roosevelt protected 230 million acres of public land. And created 18 national monuments. And the Antiquities Act, you know what the Antiquities Act was? It preserved a lot of Native American grave sites, and heritage, because people were going up and digging up Native American body parts, skulls and stuff, selling them to museums, selling them to medical schools and everything. So a lot of the stuff that we know about Native American history, without the 1906 Antiquities Act, we would not know anything about, because we're still learning about that. And they weren't destroyed. A lot of the animals and stuff that we see now is because of what he did with conservation. Okay. Teddy Roosevelt faced enormous social, technological, and political upheaval in his time. In such areas of adversity, we must be brave. We must get into the arena. Teddy Roosevelt equips us with a map of becoming leaders, citizens, and conservation. You know another thing that happened? President McKinley got killed. And President Roosevelt became president September 14th, 1901. September 14th, 1901. A little trivia question thing if you want to know. Thomas Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln's son. Unfortunately, the only person in U.S. history to be at the assassination of 3 presidents. His father, Garfield, and McKinley. Okay. 33 days after becoming sworn in as President of the United States, he sat down and had dinner with Booker T. Washington. That's right, Booker T. Washington, a man who was a slave. His family was a slave. He created colleges for blacks. He was able to sit down with Teddy Roosevelt in the White House for dinner. That's bravery. That's an individual doing what's best for his country. The coal miners, went on strike because the people, the owners of the mines had made it deadly. And Teddy Roosevelt went to him, he told the miners, fix it, or I'm having the army come in and take over these mines. So what happened is 140,000 miners got better pay and safe working conditions. Teddy Roosevelt initiated his department 43 lawsuits, antitrust lawsuits against major corporations. You know what? Under Roosevelt, the foundation of the Food and Drug Administration started. Go, what? Yes. If you have to read Upson Sinclair's book, I can't remember, it's Jungle, I don't know if basically it was they went into the slaughterhouses and they went into the drug factories and they were showing how food was being processed unsafely, killing people, and drugs with being false labeled and resulting in countless deaths. Teddy Roosevelt says no. If the American people are going to put food in their mouth or they're going to put drugs in them, they need to know what it is and they have to feel and know that it's a safe product. Teddy Roosevelt goes and says, no, none of this. It's like, oh, hey, yeah, the railroads are going to, this is the rate. Okay, hey, Chris, it's going to be $10 a ton. And hey, yeah, I'm going to cut you a deal. I'm going to tell you $10 a ton over here, but I'm only going to charge you $5 a ton, and I'll just add it on to Chris's bill. Nope. They said whatever the published rate is, it's the published rate. It doesn't matter who gets it. Yeah, President Roosevelt got the Nobel Peace Prize for ending the Russia-Japanese War. Yeah. People go and say, well, you know what? But Teddy Roosevelt was a racist. Because Teddy Roosevelt went in and said, hey, we're going to prevent Chinese workers from coming in. But like Paul Harvey goes, let's go with the rest of the story. Well, the Philippines became territory of the United States, and the Philippine people had the rights, had a lot of territorial rights. So what was happening is big companies, so I'm building railroads and stuff, and they use the word coolie, which is a very derogatory word that they use for Chinese laborers. So what they were doing is they were bringing Chinese laborers, some slave, a whole bunch of different ways, indentured, into the Philippines, and then we're bringing them into the United States. So technically, they were finding a way to get rid of around the band. And so they go, oh, no problem at all. But Teddy Roosevelt goes, no. These big transportation companies and railroad building companies, dam building companies, big things like this, they were using that to get the Chinese workers in so they could pay them at a very reduced rate. And if they get injured, throw them to the side and just bring more in. Wow. That wasn't really much different than meat packing plants, hog slaughtering places, chicken packing plants, things like that. They were bringing them in. It's like I had told you before, even now, there was one perfect example is the girl, 16-year-old girl, brought in, went to Colorado, flown into Alabama. She got into Alabama. She went to her sister. Her sister brought her to the lawyer. $1,500 later, she walks out. She's got an Alabama driver's license, and she's got a Social Security card. And she gets her job. So if something happens to her, she gets thrown out to the curb, and it's illegally gets replaced. So what they were doing with the Chinese in the 1890s, 1900s, was the same thing that we were doing now with a lot of the migrants. We do that. Big businesses. Okay. Big businesses hated Teddy Roosevelt. Because Teddy Roosevelt said, my responsibility is to take care of Americans, to do what's best for my country. And unfortunately, Mr. Roosevelt died, I think, right before he turned 60 of stomach cancer. Okay. George Washington, Teddy Roosevelt, Abraham Lincoln, they all had their faults. Okay? But I'll leave you with a quote that I've had for a long time from Teddy Roosevelt since I was a little kid. And that's probably why I'm joined the Marine Corps. I'm on the school board. I was at State House, at City Council, why I ran for mayor, even though I lost, why I ran for Senate, or why I ran for the Speaker of the House. These powerful words from Teddy Roosevelt. In any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The worst thing you can do is nothing. In a moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The right thing right now is to ask our politicians to do the right thing.